They discovered shocking secrets about the Bible's end times. Prepare for the unbelievable. Few knew what truly happened that night in Jerusalem. Shadows loomed over the ancient city. The air crackled with an unsettling energy, as if something supernatural was about to unfold. A crowd gathered, whispering urgently. The Messiah had come, but doubts clouded their hearts. Was this truly the Savior? The sun set, painting the sky in hues of blood red and twilight purple. A chill ran through the streets. People squeezed together, their breath visible in the cool air. What if this was the end? What if prophecies were finally coming true? Those dark predictions spoke of wars, disasters, and a reckoning that echoed through time. Struggling with a mix of hope and fear, the crowd craned their necks. Everyone was desperate for a sign, a miracle. That we all know the story of Lazarus, right? But have you heard the details? The grave hugged him in darkness, the scent of decay lingering close. After 4 long days, he emerged, no longer a lifeless shell but a man breathed back to life. Gasps filled the air, shock rippled through the onlookers. Had he truly returned? What kind of power had been unleashed? They could see his eyes flicker with the fear of what lay beyond. Still, mysteries lingered. How could one so revered walk among them? Some whispered rumors of secrets buried deep within sacred texts. What if the scrolls contained forbidden knowledge that could alter everything they believed? These whispers posed questions. What happens when faith falters? Are miracles merely illusions? As tensions peaked, a figure moved among the crowd. Everyone fell silent. The weight of history hung in the air. Could he be the answer to all their prayers? Or would their hopes be dashed? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The echoes of hushed whispers spiraled into a palpable tension, enveloping the crowd, now united under a shared veil of uncertainty. As the last rays of sunlight surrendered to the encroaching night, torches flickered into life, casting dancing shadows that seemed almost alive, moving as if guided by unseen hands. People stood shoulder to shoulder, their hearts racing, caught in a web woven from hope and despair. They were witnesses to the extraordinary, yet fear gnawed at their minds. Was this progression toward fulfillment or merely a tantalizing mirage crafted by their collective yearning? Could they dare believe in a future brighter than their present struggle? In that hushed moment, the figure moved closer, a man adorned with simplicity yet radiating an undeniable power. His presence felt both familiar and foreign. As he surveyed the crowd, eyes brimming with compassion and wisdom, they reflected the depths of their longing. The air thickened, the flickering flames casting an ethereal glow upon his face, revealing its lifelike immediacy. "Why do you gather here?" His voice resonated, gentle yet firm, slicing through the murmurings like a beacon. "What is it you seek?" With that question hanging in the air, the crowd surged forward, an insatiable hunger for clarity mingling with trepidation. Did he realize the weight of their expectations? Among the crowd, a woman stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We wish to know, are you the one to deliver us? Will you unveil the mysteries of the ages? What is the path we must tread?" Her voice, born from the deepest corners of fear and devotion, echoed against the stone walls of time. That he regarded her with a knowing softness. "The mysteries you seek extend far beyond mere answers. They are woven through experiences, fragility, and faith. The heart of humanity vibrates with yearning for truth. But understand this, to hold the answers is to bear the burden of questions yet to be asked." A wave of murmurs spread through the crowd. What could he mean? Were their questions forever beyond understanding? As shadows encroached, they each felt the weight of his statement. The prophecies spoke of hope, of restoration and wonder, yet the reality of enduring struggle lingered. The people whispered of Lazarus, whose return awakened their hopes anew, yet doubts made their homes in their hearts. If he had returned from the void, what did it mean for their lives and the life after? Did life spring forth only to wither once more? A young man, emboldened by the courage of uncertainty, stood at the edge of the throng. What do we do when the light flickers, and darkness threatens to envelop us? Can we trust in the unseen? His question hung heavy, resonating with many who shared the fear of abandonment. The figure paused, a glimmer of understanding reflected in his eyes. In every flicker lies a decision: to remain steadfast or to surrender to despair. Seek not only the outcome but the strength that lies in your asking. Every shadow dances with the possibility of new light. Each question can shape your path, turning uncertainty into divine trust. As the crowd absorbed his words, pondering the fragile essence of faith, the winds swirled around Jerusalem, carrying the scent of an approaching storm. What tempest loomed on the horizon? Would they find the answers sought, or would the very act of seeking lead them deeper into mystery? The night was alive with possibilities, yet the answers slipped further into the dark, leaving them pondering when will the truth surface amidst their questions. As the whispers of uncertainty ebbed into a contemplative silence, the night air shifted, thickening with the weight of unvoiced fears and glowing possibilities. The man, drawing closer to the crowd, seemed to search each face with a gaze that pierced through veils of doubt. His presence was like light on a dim path, illuminating the edges of what lay ahead, though the journey remained obscured. In the depths of the gathering, a venerable elder, a keeper of traditions, stepped forth. His brow was furrowed with concern, yet a flicker of hope danced in his eyes. "Rabbi," he began, his voice trembling like a leaf in a gentle breeze, "I have carried the stories of our ancestors' tales of trials, of wanderings, of divine promises. Yet, here we stand, burdened by the weight of time and waiting. Is deliverance merely a shadow of your teachings? Or do we grasp at illusions in vain?" The man nodded, considering the elder's words. "The stories you hold dear are bridges to understanding, but they must not confine you. Each tale is as alive as the breath that animates you now. The waiting resides not in a distant promise but within the very act of living each moment, each heartbeat in unwavering faith." The crowd absorbed his message, but uncertainty still clung to the air, much like the approaching storm. As night tightened its grip across the land, distant thunder rumbled, a reminder that the elements themselves were intricately connected to the unfolding of eternal truths. From somewhere within the mass of listeners, another voice emerged, a younger woman, weary yet resolute. "Yet, what of the prophecies? What is to become of these words spoken of ruin and redemption? Do they bind us, or can they serve as guides through the tumult?" A hush fell over those assembled, the flickering torches illuminating anxious faces. The man appeared to consider her query, and as his gaze shifted to the darkened horizon, an almost palpable anticipation hung in the air. "The prophecies are indeed a map of sorts," he replied, his voice carrying a melodic calm, "but they are best understood through the lens of mercy and love. The end is not devoid of hope, it is a transformation, where even despair yields to rebirth. Your lives are intertwined with every word spoken, they are not confined to pages long past but resonate through your choices and your hearts." But as he spoke, a flicker of turmoil brewed in the collective consciousness. Memories of despair and liberation intertwined like threads in a tapestry, raising the weighty question, what does it truly mean to live as bearers of prophecy? A ripple of unrest began to surge through the crowd, an unquiet lament murmuring from heart to heart. How could they be expected to reconcile the stark images of devastation woven into their sacred stories with the promise of deliverance? Suddenly, a frail voice broke through the tension, a young boy clutching a wooden staff. "If there is light, why can't we see it? If we believe in the promise, why does fear linger like shadows at dusk?" His innocence pierced the gloaming with an unrelenting truth that resonated deeply. The man's expression softened, and though he remained silent for a moment, the weight of the boy's words soared higher than the storm clouds gathering above. "Sometimes," he finally offered, "the light is most vivid in the darkest moments. Fear may cast its long shadow, but every attempt to seek the light fortifies your spirit. Embrace the questions, live in the tension, and trust that all is part of a great unfolding. As the crowd shared murmurs of agreement and unease, thunder cracked above, and the first drops of rain began to fall. It was as if the heavens themselves mirrored the tumult within their hearts. Would the coming storm cleanse or consume them? As the rain soaked the earth, bathing it in new life, a collective realization swept through the people: are we to become the willing participants in our narratives, not mere spectators of fate? The questions still hung in the air like raindrops clinging to leaves, each one promising a life yet to be fully understood. What awaited them beneath the weight of revelation yet to unfold? As the rain cascaded from the heavens, mingling with the stirring emotions of the crowd, the atmosphere felt charged with a dual essence of fear and possibility. Each droplet that hit the ground seemed to echo the unspoken questions still swirling among the people. They huddled closer together, their backgrounds woven into a single fabric of shared history and destiny, standing at the edge of something profound. In this cauldron of uncertainty and yearning, the man took a step forward, water glistening on his brow. "I understand the burden you carry," he said, addressing each face with the gentle authority of one who has traversed the depths of human despair and glimpsed the heights of hope. "But heed this: the whispered secrets of the end times are not meant to incite fear, but to ignite a deeper understanding within your souls." A ripple of confusion danced through the group. "What secrets?" an elderly woman queried, the lines of worry etched deep upon her face. "What of the dark dreams we hear and the trembling prophecies that warn of calamity? Are we to listen to these harbingers of doom or seek the promise of deliverance? We crave clarity in this shrouded twilight." The man paused, contemplating the weight of her words while rain continued its persistent descent. "Every prophecy carries a duality," he explained slowly. "They are reflections of choices, not mere certainties. Each man and woman yields the power to shape what is written. The doomsday visions may serve as warnings, but they also carve paths for redemption. The choice of how to engage with those prophecies resides within each of you." The wind picked up, whipping the rain into a furious dance, as hesitant murmurs rippled back through the crowd. It was a mysterious tension, a quirky unity in their shared need for answers, yet a distinct fracture highlighted by fear of the unknown. "What if we choose poorly?" came the voice of a young man, trembling with trepidation. "What if the darkness prevails? What if the shadows we embody conjure the very futures we dread?" "Ah," the man replied, his voice as steady as the earth beneath their feet. "The fear of poor choices is the beginning of wisdom. Consider that fear, when embraced, sheds light on paths yet untraveled. Allow it to drive you toward compassion and understanding, instead of allowing it to anchor you in despair." A sudden flash of lightning illuminated their faces, striking a moment of silence. It was both a blessing and a reminder of life's transience, here and gone in a heartbeat. As the subsequent rumble of thunder rolled through the valley, the man gestured toward the brilliance that would soon follow the storm. "You are invited to be active agents in the story unfolding. Your reactions create waves that ripple across the fabric of time. Embrace courage, for in choice lies empowerment." The crowd, though still laden with doubt, began to ponder choices yet to come. Each lingering gaze filled with the possibilities of both light and darkness. What redemptive paths could lead them toward a horizon shimmering with hope? A surreal stillness enveloped them as the rain transformed into a gentle mist. The weight of their contemplation seemed heavier, enhanced by unspoken fears and hidden dreams. The question lingered, dancing in the space of their collective consciousness: would they dare to stand in the tension and seek the answers that neither prophecy nor fear could fully reveal? As they searched within, they were left pondering this revelation: in living the waiting, who were they becoming, shadows of despair or bearers of light? As the mist enveloped the gathering, a sense of anticipation hung in the air, enchanting and unsettling at once. The man's gaze swept over the crowd, his heart resonating with their unspoken hopes. "Seek not merely answers," he urged, his voice a soft echo through the dampened air, "but the deeper truths that lie beneath the surface of your understanding." A hush fell, inviting the curious hearts to draw closer, to lean in to hear what wisdom might emerge from the shadows of uncertainty. It was a moment of stillness, a fragile pause before the waters of comprehension might break forth. Who among us, the elderly woman implored, can reach into the depths of the mysterious? Her voice trembled, charged with a blend of hope and desperation. We are but mortals, bounded by fear and frailty. What wisdom can guide such lost souls through the vastness of your counsel? The man inhaled deeply, the air thick with the scent of wet earth, as he considered the essence of their question. Every individual carries within them a spark, he began, an ember that connects them to all of creation, an invitation to explore the unseen tapestry woven through time. Remember, the great prophets spoke out of their plight, and visions end times sweep us into cycles of despair and deliverance alike. Each of you holds a crucial piece of that prophecy. The crowd shifted, each person reflecting on the weight of personal responsibility intermingled with collective destiny. It was an awakening of sorts, a realization that their lives were interwoven with a greater purpose, and yet saturated with vulnerability. What then shall we do? A woman in the back spoke up, her voice trembling yet filled with conviction. How do we harness these choices and spark the light over our path? The man smiled knowingly, sensing her earnestness. You must begin by knowing yourselves, the shadows and the light you both harbor. Dive into the depths of your fears, let them teach you. Bearers of darkness often possess gifts untold. Reach for grace amid chaos, for therein lies your power to influence the unfolding tapestry of fate. It is the richness of understanding that allows you to wield wisdom instead of ignorance. As drops of rain began to drip from the verdant leaves above, a young girl stepped bravely forward from the encampment. Her face was painted with innocence yet illuminated by profound insight. If what you say is true, she asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity, how do we know what to choose? How do we embrace the fear when it feels too heavy to carry? To choose wisely, the man elaborated, leaning closer as he engaged her with a gentle nod. A path illuminated is not devoid of shadows. Acknowledge the fear, let it stir within. Through reflection and honest articulation of the heart's pulse, through prayers of sincerity and communal bond, you will find your clarity. Fear can teach you empathy, it can lead you to the truth if you allow it to guide you. The murmurs of the crowd grew, individuals began to exchange glances, contemplating the thought that fear might unveil a form of love and understanding they had yet to experience. The storm clouds shifted overhead, seemingly echoing the tumultuous emotions brewing beneath their collective skin. Then, if fear is but a teacher, an older man chimed in, his brow creased with lines of wisdom and age, are we not destined to make mistakes? Will we not falter in our search for truth? Indeed, you will face missteps. Each error is but another brushstroke on the canvas of life, he affirmed, for redemption finds its strength in humility. The end times merely call upon you to be aware of how you thread each choice into the greater narrative. In this expansive moment, wonder if your perceived failures might instead be stepping stones towards the fulfillment of sacred guidance. As the mist began to thicken again, swirling around their feet, the crowd eerily drew closer together, a synergy of spirits bound by shared questions and undefined future. They began to absorb the weight of their role in this grand story, facing glimpses of their potential to shape what lay ahead. What, then, becomes of those who choose recklessly? A quiet voice inquired, echoing a deep-seated fear that had settled like a stone in many hearts. The man regarded them solemnly, coming to understand the profound nature of their inquiry. The reverberations of choice do not disappear, he offered, but serve as lifelong lessons. It is not recklessness that defines you, but your willingness to rise again and seek renewal. The lost and broken still hold the power to transform despair into hope. As a final rumble of thunder whispered through the tranquil valley, the crowd stood amidst a palpable truth, though unseen yet undeniable connection that bound them to one another, to the divine, and to the paths they had yet to walk. In the depths of their thoughts and hearts, a new question arose, echoing softly within. If our choices carve the future, how shall we navigate the unknown that lies ahead, when shadows tempt us to forget the light within? As they stood shrouded in the mist, a profound tension settled among the gathered souls. The air vibrated with unanswered questions, a tangible testament to the unease that stirred beneath their resolve. Each person felt the weight of the collective gaze, their hearts beating in a rhythm of curiosity and apprehension. Will we all not face our end? Posed the elderly woman again, her brow knit tightly, eyes shining with unquenched desire for clarity. Yet, does that not beg the question what lies beyond the threshold we all must inevitably cross? The man, still enveloped by the ethereal fog, took a careful step closer, allowing their inquiries to settle in the sacred space between them. What lies beyond may not be as distant as you think, he replied gently. Consider that the end is often but a transformation, a shedding of skins we have long outgrown. It is not merely an event to be feared, it is a passage towards enlightenment. A low murmur swept through the crowd, swirling like the mists around their feet. The young girl, emboldened, lifted her chin defiantly. Then what must we prepare for? She demanded, her innocence tempered by a ferocious thirst for understanding. How do we know if we are ready for what comes next? Therein lies the mystery, the man replied, his gaze steady and inviting. To be prepared, one must first embrace the idea of uncertainty. Seek not only the light that shines before you, but also the shades that may cross your path. Resilience is bred not in comfort but in the acknowledgement of all experiences, each shadow teaching you values unknown. A man in the back, rustling through the leaves, raised his voice among the gathering, and the prophecies that have been spoken, what of these dark omens? Will they not unfold as scripted? Every prophecy carries within it a weight of possibility, the man explained. There lies a sacred thread woven through the fabric of time, a combination of divine intention and human choice. Even the heaviest of burdens has the potential to spark new beginnings. Fear not the foretelling, but consider it an invitation for proactive engagement. In the depths of their hearts, doubts began to swirl with seeping curiosity. What if there was not only a script to follow but the potential to author their own destinies amidst the foreseen endings? The atmosphere thickened, a palpable energy that cradled their ambitions and fears alike. Yet, the elderly woman interjected, if we have the power to change our destinies, how do we discern the authentic from the whisperings of false hope? Can we truly trust the pulse within? Ah, the man sighed, locking eyes with each individual as he drew closer to this vulnerable question. To trust the heart is a profound act of faith. It requires you to journey into the depths of your inner self, where doubt lingers alongside conviction and clarity. Surround yourselves with voices of wisdom, seek the company of both heart and mind in your contemplation. Listen deeply, for in the stillness, the truth may speak louder than the noise of fear. A flicker of light danced through the crowd's uncertainty as they considered the fragility of balance between doubt and faith. The query hung palpably in the air, resonating within each heart that beat in tandem. Then, in the face of prophetic calamities, a woman asked hesitantly, how do we maintain hope? How do we cling to light in the midst of despair? The man paused, his expression a canvas of compassion. Hope is both a choice and a gift, he said softly. It stems from the belief that every storm cannot last forever. But it is woven intricately with anticipation, the courage to walk into the unknown despite the shadows that linger. Share your torments, your joys. In community, hope flourishes. Allow your hearts to connect, for therein lies fortitude. The crowd, now swimming in contemplation, felt their spirits lift slowly, emboldened by shared fears and hopes entwined. Yet, a new uncertainty arose, a longing for conviction amidst the chaos. As the thunder rolled once more, the voices began to quiet into a thoughtful hush, pondering together the depths of their questions regarding trust, change, and the enigmatic power held within their collective actions. With an unwritten chapter looming ahead, they found themselves confronting a lingering realization: if we are destined to navigate through the veils of shadows and light, what wisdom shall we hold on to amidst promises of uncharted futures? A thick silence enveloped the gathering, the weight of unuttered thoughts pulling heavily at the edges of their consciousness. The man, acknowledging their stillness, took a moment to let the atmosphere settle. There is a time for questions, and there is a time for reflection, he began, his voice imbued with a gentle reverence. Each moment spent in uncertainty can be a step toward greater understanding, should you choose to trust in the unfolding journey. A youth, emboldened by the recent discussions, voiced a notion brewing within him. But if we are changing our destinies, can the darkness mentioned in the prophecies be cast aside? Can they not be rewritten? His earnestness, accompanied by a hint of desperation, echoed through the crowd. All prophecies are whispers from a time that has yet to emerge, the man responded, his eyes gleaming with wisdom. They serve a purpose but do not bind you to a singular fate. Each soul is a brush poised against the canvas of existence. Paint with intention, and you can transform even the most foreboding images into light. Just then, a frail figure emerged from the back of the crowd. "What of the ancient texts?" she inquired, her voice trembling but resolute. "They speak of destruction and chaos, a time of trial. How can we reconcile such dire predictions with the possibility of hope?" Her brow furrowed as she searched the faces around her, every heart longing for a reassuring answer. "The ancient texts hold truth, but they also invite interpretation," the man replied thoughtfully. "Consider this, what you fear in prophecy may reflect the inner turmoil of your souls. It is from this very tension we pull forth clarity and strength. The future may contain storms, but it is also pregnant with promise. The key lies not in the storms themselves but in how you choose to meet them." A young mother, cradling her infant, spoke up, urge coloring her voice. "And yet, as we stand preparing for these changes, how do we protect our children? What legacy will we leave them if darkness looms ahead?" "Your legacy will not be forged merely by avoidance of hardship, but by the values you instill," he explained, raising his hands as if to embrace them all. "Teach your children love, empathy, resilience. These are the gifts that will anchor them in turbulent times. Show them how to confront uncertainty with courage. This can be their guiding light amid shadows." Emboldened by the man's conviction, minds began to whirl with purpose, considering what treasures they could pass down. Yet, amidst the rising energy, the elderly woman's voice trembled with doubt. "And what if we falter? What if I sow seeds of caution and fear instead of love?" "Ah, therein lies the journey of the heart," he replied with compassion. "Fear is intertwined with love, and their dance is essential to human experience. Embrace both. Even in moments of faltering, recognize that vulnerability itself is a powerful teacher. It provides you a chance to reconnect with your own essence, and perhaps, others around you will find courage within your honesty." As they contemplated these profound words, a distant rumble broke the tranquility. The mists began to shift ominously, swirling with an intensity that challenged their newfound hope. An unsettling realization dawned upon each person, echoing through their thoughts. What shadows lie hidden within us, and what truths must we face if we are to emerge unscathed from the storms ahead? As the winds howled softly, the crowd stood divided between dread and resolve, grappling with a daunting question. In confronting the shadows we harbor, how might we illuminate the path for those who come after us? The winds continued to swirl, carrying whispers through the air as if the very fabric of the universe were speaking to them. It was in this charged atmosphere that a new figure stepped forward, a scholar known for his deep understanding of the ancient texts. His presence commanded attention, yet there was an underlying tremor in his demeanor, hinting at the weight of what he was about to reveal. "Brothers and sisters," he began, his voice unexpectedly soft yet grave, "I have pondered these prophecies deeply. The words of old do not merely forecast a demise, they urge us to glean wisdom from what lies ahead. We must engage with these cryptic scriptures instead of fearing them." Unease rippled through the gathering, yet curiosity tugged at their hearts. The scholar continued, "What if the darkness we dread is a manifestation not just of external calamities, but of our own hearts? Each tale of doom speaks of a reckoning, a time when we are stripped bare, shedding our facades to expose our truest selves." He paused to let his words settle. "Consider the ancient tales of thorns and thickets, of darkness eclipsing the dawn. They are potent reminders that transformation often requires traversing through trials. Without testing, how can we discover our strength?" An elder with wisdom etched upon his face raised a brow in contemplation. "But how do we prepare for such trials if they are indeed at hand? Are we not called to raise our children in peace, shielded from chaos?" The scholar nodded respectfully. "Preparation does not equate to cocooning ourselves from the storms. Instead, it is about embracing the tempest. Equip yourselves with understanding and the tools of compassion. In your homes, share stories of triumph over suffering, resilience in adversity. Create spaces where love flourishes even amidst uncertainty, yet, the mother with the infant could not shake her fears. And what do we tell them when the winds roar and the shadows lengthen? How do we quell their fears in the face of such dire warnings? Speak to them of the light that guides, the scholar encouraged. Remind them that the dawn always follows the darkest hour. Each story of chaos is a bridge that leads to growth, not merely an ending. It is our faith that lights the way through despair. Eager whispers stirred in the crowd, but there was a sense of deeper unease, an unspoken question that lingered heavy in the air. A young man, daring to delve deeper into the conversation, spoke up. But what if, in seeking to understand these mysteries, we uncover truths that shake the very foundation of what we believe? A hush fell upon the gathering, as eyes widened in search of a response. The scholar smiled knowingly at the young man's courageous inquiry. Ah, true revelation can be disorienting. The journey of unraveling our understanding is laden with contradictions. It's in this wrestling that we can emerge with clearer insights. Questions of faith, doubt, and clarity echoed through each heart, intertwining into a web of contemplation. The crowd wrestled not only with the truths of prophecy but with the idea that perhaps their own shadows harbored answers waiting to be unearthed. Could it be that the path to illuminating their future lay in confronting the unsettling truths buried within? As the winds began to settle, leaving behind a stillness heavy with contemplation, the man who first spoke raised his voice once more. In our quest for understanding, we must ask ourselves, what truths about our shadows are we willing to face, and could these revelations be the very key to shaping a brighter legacy for those who will walk in our footsteps? As the echoes of the scholar's words resonated through the assembly, a curious hush enveloped those gathered. The atmosphere crackled with an electric anticipation, as if the very winds, momentarily calming, held their breath awaiting the continuation of this unfolding story. Eyes met, some filled with doubt, others illuminated with hope. In the midst of this charged silence, the elder with wisdom engraved in his features leaned forward, longing for clarity. What if the shadows do not merely dwell within our hearts, but rather in the unexamined pages of our own history? Are we not, too, products of our past? Was there not a time when we walked with certainty, shunning the complexities of our present? The scholar tilted his head, acknowledging the profound nature of the elder's challenge. Indeed, our history does cast long shadows. The scriptures we hold sacred narrate tales of humanity wrestling with its own frailty, longing for restoration amidst disarray. Yet, therein lies both the challenge and the promise, to revisit these ancient texts with a heart open to new interpretations. A woman standing at the edge of the gathering stepped forward, her hands trembling as she posed her question. But what happens if the revelations we uncover echo the very struggles we try to escape? What if our quest for understanding leads us into deeper darkness rather than light? The visage of the scholar softened, and he responded gently, the search for truth is rarely linear, my dear sister. Darkness often accompanies enlightenment, and discomfort births growth. Remember, the stories in our scriptures contain not only the failures of those before us but also the triumphs that follow. Each generation must peel back the layers of its narrative. The young man, emboldened by the engagement, added, but what if our interpretations unleash conflict among us? What if seeking these truths divides the community we cherish? Are we prepared for the struggle that may arise from our attempts to illuminate our shadows? A palpable tension filled the space, as the question lingered among them like a specter. The scholar took a moment to reflect, his eyes piercing through the veils of uncertainty. A community founded upon love and respect ought to embrace the struggle, for therein lies the path to unity. Conflicts can be fertile ground for growth, a means through which we learn to hold space for each other's perspectives. A child's laugh broke the heavy air, reminding them of the innocence that dwelt untainted by fears and doctrines. The mother with the infant smiled softly, stirring with newfound resolve. Then let us engage with these fears not as foes, but as guides. If we create an environment where questions are cherished rather than suppressed, could we not raise children who are resilient and wise? The gathering simmered with agreement, yet fear still flickered in hearts like candles caught in a gust. An elder far removed from the fervor spoke from his seat, his voice a steady cadence amidst the uncertainty. Indeed, the act of questioning itself is divine. Even the prophets of old wrestled with doubts and fears. What if our reluctance to embrace these difficult dialogues is what stifles our growth? Each soul in the crowd absorbed his proposition, each apprehensive yet eager for the unfolding of deeper truths. Conversations ignited once more, erupting into a dance of voices asking about the meaning behind the promises of restoration, the implications of hidden knowledge, and the courage necessary to pierce through comfort. As twilight dimmed the horizon, casting long shadows across the gathering, the scholar raised his hand, motioning for silence. My friends, as we tread deeper into the complexities of our faith, let us not forget the fundamental essence that binds us together: the search for understanding. Fear exists, yes, but it is in our collective journey through these shadows that we may discover new light. With a firm yet tender tone, he added, "Yet, I pose to you a final question: are we brave enough to allow our shadows to illuminate our path forward, and, in doing so, redefine what we believe about ourselves and the world around us?" The air thickened with depth, as each person contemplated the pathway woven with questions yet unanswered, leaving them to wrestle once more with the profound implications of their unearthing shadows. As the somber clouds drifted reluctantly across the Jerusalem skyline, the air remained laden with anticipation, an electric pulse of hope and doubt intertwined deeply within the hearts of those gathered. The man who had led them through the labyrinth of uncertainty now stood silently, as if the wisdom of the ages wrapped around him like a mantle, inviting contemplation. The night felt like a sacred threshold, a moment suspended in time where each person present stood at the cusp of revelation. It was within this pregnant pause before the storm that a ripple of unity began to weave its way through the multitude, a shift born from a burgeoning understanding that grew out of their shared questions. Beneath the cloak of darkness, an ancient tension within humanity stirred, ripe with the possibility of transformation. The man, sensing the subtle shift, leaned forward, inviting them into the deeper realms of reflection. "Together, you dance on the precipice," he said, his voice a soothing balm against the trembling uncertainty. "Within your hearts, the echoes of prophecy sing a dual song, one of demise, and one of rebirth." A hush fell over the crowd once more, their eagerness surging into one collective breath as he continued. "The end times you fear are neither merely calamities nor mere shadows, rather, they are invitations to engage with the truest aspects of your being. It is the way of the cosmos to tear down in order to rebuild, to call forth destruction that can lead to renewal. In every shattering, there lies a seed, a promise of what is yet to unfurl." The gathered souls exchanged glances, reflecting upon the weight of his words, grasping for something to steady the quaking landscape of their emotions. An elderly woman stepped forward, her face framed by the gentle lines of experience and yearning. "But how do we honor those seeds, Rabbi?" she asked, her voice trembling yet firm. "How do we cultivate hope in ashes? What if the storm consumes us before we can embrace the dawn?" The man regarded her with warmth and understanding. "Then I beseech you to gather that hope fiercely," he replied, "to nurture it tenderly like a flame against the wind. It begins in your choices, in the very fabric of your interactions. Seek not only to survive the storms but to become adept at sailing through them. In unity, you will find the strength and wisdom to weather the winds of change." As his words echoed through the air, a palpable wave of conviction swept through the crowd. Perhaps it was time to relinquish the confines of fear and embrace the power of their collective spirit, one woven with threads of compassion, courage, and faith. A young boy who stood close to the front, his large eyes glimmering with innocence and curiosity, raised his small hand. "But if we are brave enough to face our fears and uncertainties, how will we know we're making the right choices?" His voice, though slight, resonated deeply within each heart, gleaming with potential and vulnerability. Another ripple of silence fell upon the crowd, and the man smiled gently, recognizing the essence of the question. Right choices are not dictated by perfection but are shaped through love and intention. Trust your intuition, embrace dialogue, and reflect upon the outcomes of your actions. It is in this shared journey, this communion of souls, that you shall discover the clarity to move forward. A clamor of voices erupted, each individual wrestling with their own fears while yearning for a common foundation. Yet the man raised his hand, quieting their frantic energy. Each choice you make today, each act that seeks out community and compassion, will pave the way for the legacies you leave behind. The path ahead is shrouded, trust in the process, and as light pours in, you will uncover new understandings. As his words hovered in the cool night air, the storm began to swirl with renewed vigor above, droplets beginning to punctuate the warm earth, drenching the ground in life. This rain, he gestured upward, is a symbol of the very awakening I speak of. It cleanses, it births new life. Allow it to wash away fears and doubts, let it rejuvenate your spirit and ignite your resilience. And with that, the crowd exhaled, breathing deeper, moving together as the winds swirled around them, carrying the scent of impending thunder. Each heartbeat synced with the rhythm of the night, galvanizing the resolve growing within. The man before them had revealed the choice innate in every human soul, the choice to rise above despair and embrace the transformative power of love and hope, breaking free from the entrapments of their shadows. It was in that moment a communion of souls awakening, a vibrant realization illuminated the gathering. They were all artists upon the canvas of life, writing each chapter with the strokes of their choices, and penning their own prophecy. As the rain intensified, laughter intermingled with cries of joy, celebrating not only the cleansing of the heavens above but the catharsis unfolding within their hearts. Together they began to chant, their voices forming ripples across the landscape of despair, igniting embers of faith. We are the light. We are the way. Together we shall transform our fate. And in that sacred invocation, something shifted profoundly in the atmosphere. The storm's thunder began to recede, merging harmoniously with their exclamations, almost as if the heavens themselves joined in their crescendo of hope. The man closed his eyes, allowing the energy to wash over him, feeling the union of spirits forming a tapestry of resilience. It was in their ebullient collective fervor, their willingness to brave the shadows together, that the profound truth gestated: the end is always a beginning, and within each moment of darkness, the seeds of light lie dormant, waiting for hope to kindle their flame. As the final drops of rain danced upon the earth and the energies around them softened into a gentle glow, he stepped back, silently marveling at their unfolding. The crowd, filled with renewed vigor and connection, turned toward one another, sharing smiles and embraces that spoke volumes beyond words. It was with this spirit that they stepped boldly into the night, the city of Jerusalem illuminated by the fervor of countless hearts. Their journey had not reached an end but opened a new chapter, a testimony of hope casting long shadows from which all would learn to rise. The murmured echoes of the past entwined with their newfound commitments. They understood in that moment that the true prophecy was not merely about the circumstances foretold but about how they chose to engage with the narratives ahead. And as they departed, voices harmonizing into the deepening night, a final thought shimmered within their minds: in the crucible of uncertainty and the promise of transformation, lies the sacred power to shape the stories yet to unfold. Together, they chose to be the architects of renewal, a testimony to faith that echoes through time.